strong.
So hello everyone, it's Kidz here. Are you ready to get started? Let's get started. So hello everyone. Our lesson this week is Moses is born, and it's from the book of Exodus, chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. Now I'm going to send you over to Miss Latoya for our memory verse and prayer, and I'll see you right back here in a minute.
Welcome back. It's time for our memory verse. Hey! So this week, we're in the book of Psalm, chapter 145, verse 18. And it reads, "The Lord is near to all who call upon him. To all who call upon him in truth." That's Psalm 145, verse 18. See you next week for another verse and some vocab. It's time to pray to start our lesson. Bow your heads and close your eyes. Dear Lord, thank you for another Sunday to hear your word. Thank you for Miss Cleo for sharing the word today. I pray that our children take one thing they learned today and share it with someone else. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for your continued healing. We thank you for keeping us safe. Amen. Back to Miss Cleo for our lesson for today.
So welcome back everyone. As I said, our lesson this week is Moses is born, and it's from Exodus chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. Now, to review from last week our story was about Joseph. Does anybody remember what we learned about Joseph? How many brothers did he have? 11. Did his brothers like him? No. Does anybody know why? He was his father's favorite son. Also, he had a dream. Does anybody remember the dream that the Lord gave him? The Lord gave him a dream where his brothers were like sheaf. There was like wheat that was in a field, and he was in the center of all of these bales of wheat, and they were bowing down to him. And in their minds, they were like, "We are not going to bow down to you." But what did we learn later? We learned later that actually Joseph became the second person in charge in Egypt when there was a famine down there, and how God had favor on him, and his entire family went down to Egypt so they wouldn't starve to death. Well, now we're going to continue on and learn about this man named Moses. Moses is a very important person. He was a leader, and also he was a prophet. And we're going to learn a little bit more about him. Last week our theme also was that God has plans for our lives. The same is here for Moses. God has plans for our lives. You just don't know what God has waiting for you. So I'm going to read from The Bible Made Easy for Kids by Dave Strahler. And the title of this is God Prepares a Leader. Because of the famine in Canaan, Joseph's whole family, his brothers and his father Jacob, moved down to Egypt where there was enough food. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, then gave them the best land to live on, and so they all settled there. Many years came and went, and eventually Joseph and his brothers died. But God did not forget his promise to Abraham to make him into a great nation and give his descendants the land of Canaan to live in. And so over the years, the family of the children and grandchildren that came from Abraham became a great nation, the nation of Israel. In the meantime, a new king who did not know about Joseph came into power in Egypt. Pharaoh was afraid that the Israelites would become a strong nation that would turn against them and fight them. So he forced the Israelites to work very hard without being paid. He turned them into slaves. They were slaves for him. But the more the Egyptian king did to harm God's people, the more God blessed the Israelites with many children. One day, Pharaoh ordered that all the newborn baby boys of the Israelites be thrown into the Nile River. But the parents of baby Moses laid him in a special basket and hid him among the reeds in the riverbank. Moses was about 3 months old at the time. His sister Miriam stood some distance away watching what would happen. While the baby lay hidden on the bank of the Nile River, Pharaoh's daughter went down to the river to wash herself. It wasn't long before she discovered the basket in the reeds. When she opened the basket and saw the baby, she felt sorry for him. So let me just ask you, do you really think that it was just a coincidence that Pharaoh's daughter comes down to the Nile to bathe and she comes across this basket with this baby inside? No, it's not. Moses' parents has kept him for 3 months hidden, and they can't hide him anymore. His mother has decided to put him in a basket and float him down on the Nile. And just by luck, Pharaoh's daughter, the same man who had the order to kill the babies, his daughter finds Moses. God is so awesome. Miriam quickly went up to her and asked, "Shall I go get someone to care for him?" "Yes, go," she answered. So Miriam went to call her mother. But the princess, not knowing that she was the mother of Moses, offered to pay her to look after him. In this way, Moses was cared for by his own mother until he was quite a bit older. Then his mother took him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who took him in as her own son. God has plans for our lives. Many years later, when Moses was a young man, he went out to where his own people were hard at work. He happened to see an Egyptian beating an Israelite. So when no one was looking, Moses killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand. Pharaoh found out what Moses had done and wanted to kill him, but Moses fled and went to live in the land of Midian. There he became a shepherd and looked after the flock of a man called Jethro, who became his father-in-law. One day, while out in the desert, Moses saw a bush that was on fire, but strangely, it wasn't burning up. When he went closer to have a look, he heard a voice saying, "Moses, do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for this place where you are standing is holy ground." Moses covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Wow. So now Moses has grown up in Pharaoh's house. He has been taught by him. He has eaten his food. And now God has it where Moses realizes that the people who are being enslaved by the Egyptians are his people, the Israelites. So he kills a man, and now he is on the run. He's on the run. God is holy. He is so perfect and good in every way that no person can look at him and live. When God spoke to Moses, he spoke from a burning bush, and even the ground around the bush became holy. God said to Moses, "I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries for help, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have So I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and lead them to a fruitful land with plenty of space for everyone. I am sending you to Pharaoh to lead my people out of Egypt." But Moses said, "Who am I to go to the king and lead your people out of Egypt?" "I will be with you," God replied. Then Moses said, "But if I go tell the Israelites that the God of their fathers sent me to lead them out of Egypt, and they ask, 'What is his name?' what must I tell them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am. Say to the Israelites, 'I am has sent me to you.' This is my name forever, and people must use that name from now on." But Moses started making excuses. "What if they don't believe me, and I'm not a good speaker?" So the Lord allowed Aaron, the brother of Moses, to do all the speaking, while Moses used his staff to do special signs and miracles. Moses went to Pharaoh and told him to let the Israelites go free, but... So let's just start right there. God has now had it to where Moses has been in Midian, and now God is reaching out to him, telling him, "You are going to be my deliverer. You are going to go back to Egypt, and you are going to free my people." Because Moses himself is also Israel. So God is saying, "You are going to free my people, and don't be afraid, because I'm going to be there with you." But when God calls us to do something, and we're thinking that we're going to do it in our own strength, we come up with all kinds of excuses. Moses said, "I can't speak. They won't listen to me." God said, "I'll send your brother Aaron to go with you. He'll be your mouthpiece. I will be with you, and everything will work out." So this let me ask, Moses is now going to go back to Pharaoh and tell him to release the Israelites. Do you think he's going to let them go? We're going to stop right here and we'll see what happens. So that's the end of the story for this week, and I'll see you next week. Be strong.